Hello then, a warm welcome to all of you here on the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi and let's head straight to the headlines. French President Francois Hollande meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi, expresses hope that they will make progress on the Rafale deal. Industrial production grows at a robust 5%, helped by increase in manufacturing and mining output. The Hyderabad High Court wraps Andhra Pradesh government over the encounter of alleged smugglers in Chittoor forest, asks the government to file a case of murder. India wraps up rescue operations in Yemen after evacuating over 5,000 people, shuts down the embassy in Sana'a. And India lodges protest with Pakistan over the release of 26/11 attack mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakwi from jail. France joins India in expressing disappointment over the verdict. Our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today met French President Francois Hollande, who said he was looking forward to making progress over the multi-billion euro deal for French fighter jets. Both leaders are expected to address a joint press conference. Another highlight, of course, of Modi's maiden trip to France will be, of course, his meeting with the French President tomorrow again.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting the French President Francois Hollande, who said he hoped they will make progress over the multi-billion euro deal for French fighter jets. Both leaders signing a bunch of agreements.
Je souhaite que nous puissions avancer au cours de la visite du Premier ministre Modi, mais il y aura d'autres rencontres et nous verrons bien comment nous pourrons finaliser.
Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stepped on French soil to a warm welcome by officials there. He also met Indian officials who were there at the Ohli airport to greet him. This is Modi's first stop of his three-nation tour. Defence, nuclear and infrastructure development are the three key areas of focus during Modi's visit.
India and France are strategic partners, so the discussions between Prime Minister and President Hollande tomorrow will focus on areas of strategic cooperation, which include defence, they include nuclear. And when two leaders of two important countries meet, they will also discuss issues such as which create problems for the rest of the world, including terrorism. They will discuss international issues, including Security Council reform and various regional issues of interest to India and to France.
Prime Minister Modi was also given a ceremonial welcome at the Élysée Palace. He was escorted by French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius as he inspected the Guard of Honor at the President's official residence. Ahead of a dinner meeting with French President Francois Hollande, Modi addressed the UNESCO.
UNESCO was among the first missions of the United Nations. That is why India values the work of UNESCO so deeply and cherishes our partnership so immensely. I am conscious of the extraordinary legacy of our relationship from the times of UNESCO's birth.
Modi emphasized that India will defend and protect the rights and liberty of every citizen while ensuring people of every faith, culture and creed have an equal place.
We will defend and protect the right and liberty of every citizen. We will ensure that every citizen of every faith, culture and creed has an equal place in our society, belief in her future and the confidence to pursue.
The Prime Minister later met CEOs of top French companies to attract investment in infrastructure projects in India. Modi was accompanied by top government officials. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, back home industrial production grew at an unexpected 5% in February. This was the fastest pace of growth in 9 months, mainly driven by growth, manufacturing and mining sectors. Take a look.
The index of industrial production for February grew at a robust 5% compared to a contraction of 2% in the same period last year. Manufacturing sector output grew at 5.2%, while mining grew at 2.5%. The output of capital goods grew at 8.8%, while the output of consumer goods grew at 5.2%. The latest figures are good news for the government that's been striving to impart momentum to the economy.
Manufacturing has contributed in a big way. Secondly, mining has also maintained its momentum of growth, which we were looking at. Electricity although has a little bit of still concern area.
On Thursday, global rating agency Moody's raised India's rating outlook to positive from stable, mainly on the back of the government's steps to revive the economy. While the industry welcomed Moody's upgrade, they are still awaiting both investment flow into the country and real changes on the ground.
It's a sentiment, as a matter of fact, and we are glad that the sentiments are becoming optimistic than against the pessimism that was prevailing till last year. But the real investment has yet to flow to India despite having such a positive attitude of the investors towards India.
Acceleration in factory output could certainly improve overall sentiment. But key risks to India's growth trajectory will be shocks from agriculture due to untimely rains, global economic risks and a weak banking system. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Alright, so let's find out the significance of really that 5%, how crucial it is for the Indian economy. Himanshu Vats, Senior Editor with the Economic Times, with us in studio this evening. Good evening, Himanshu. Give us a sense really how significant these numbers are. And, February and March generally tend to do good, but is it the April numbers that will actually seal the deal about the economy being really on good track?
These numbers are pretty positive and encouraging. Feb, March, April Feb and March tend to be a bit high, but it is being compared to the same month. So it is positive. And what I find significant is that the capital goods industry, that has grown around 8%. And that may not be the exact number, but that's significant because a capital goods company will expand, will show growth if there is investment in the economy. And that, I think, is the crucial thing, because for the last 2 or 3 years, it is the investment that was lacking. And if capital goods, which give you the nuts and bolts of a factory, the basic machines, the equipment, if that is growing, that's very positive for the economy.
All right, that also shows an investment demand, is that right? It shows that, the investors are actually...
Yes. It shows investment demand, and to some extent it also shows the capital goods sector preparing for an uptick in the overall economy coming, which is expected. Generally, if you see the mining sector is poised for a big growth. The road construction sector, the overall construction sector, which has been negative, is gearing for good growth. The project financing, the equipment finance, all those, the feedback from all these sectors is that they are expecting growth now, finally. So, of course, there are a few risk factors here and there, but it is significant that the overall numbers are also, the highest in around 9 months or so.
Yes.
The trajectory has been a bit topsy-turvy. It goes up, goes down, but a good 5% growth, I'm pretty optimistic about.
All right. Talking about those 9 months, Himanshu, how much of these numbers really can we, credit to the Narendra Modi policies? Is that actually helping, the economy swing in this way, or is it other global factors as well that's actually, proving lucky for the Narendra Modi government?
I think we can give some credit to the government because it's been around for around 10 months now. The first couple of months, 3 months and a few months, you can say, you can neither give it the credit or the blame because the momentum of the previous policies continues. But, if you look at mining sector, for example, all the action is been in this government. The action is here. They've auctioned coal blocks, the equipment suppliers, the construction sector, they are all gearing for major action in mining. Similarly, lots of road projects have been given. So one would give credit. Of course, the global factors are there.
Yes.
But even in that, you'll have to give credit because, if you go by the rating agencies, Moody's and all, what they have said is that India is likely, the economy is looking better and a better outlook than its peers.
Yes.
So to that extent, one would have to give credit to the way the economy and the policy environment is being managed in the country.
All right. Just give us a sense really of the IIP numbers, how significant they are as far as the economic scene of the country is concerned. We do understand that the RBI, of course, doesn't look into it as far as, when its credit policy is decided or things like that. But give us a sense really of these numbers, how crucial they are as far as, the overall economic scene of the country. How do we gauge it?
I think they're very crucial because, particularly when you have a strategy of manufacturing-led growth in employment and jobs. So if industrial production is growing, it does signal better times for the manufacturing sector. It also, has an effect on other sectors of the economy. More industrial production is there, you will have new investment, you'll have new demand for services, various services. So to that extent, whether it is banks or software or tourism, all these sectors will gain if industrial sector is growing. So it is pretty important.
All right.
For the overall health of the economy. Yeah.
All right, Himanshu Vats, thanks so much for joining us and helping us understand the significance of the IIP numbers. A lot of industrialists also saying that if the April numbers are actually 2 to 3%, then we are definitely out of the woods then. So we'll have to wait and see in the coming months how the IIP numbers, of course, pan out. Thanks so much, Himanshu. Meanwhile, let's head on to some more news now. And the Hyderabad High Court has ordered the Andhra Pradesh government to register a case of murder in the controversial killing of 20 alleged red sandalwood smugglers in Chittoor. The court has asked the state government now to furnish more details in the case on Monday. The court also saying that the police report on the incident requires further clarifications.
The Hyderabad High Court pulled up the state police for its unsatisfactory report in the killing of 20 alleged red sandalwood smugglers in Chittoor earlier this week. Questioning why a case of unnatural death has not been registered till now, the court ordered the state government to file a case under Section 302. The court has asked the DGP to reappear before it on Monday and furnish more details.
So unless if an offence is for life imprisonment, the police cannot use the force. So the court meanwhile also said that why don't you, the victims will lodge a complaint before the police so that we can direct them to register the case under 302 IPC. That is how the arguments had taken place, and certainly the victims will definitely, on behalf of victims, definitely there will be a criminal case will be filed, and again the matter will be taken up at Monday.
The police justified its actions, claiming the 20 men were smuggling red sandalwood and were fired at in self-defense. But at least two witnesses alleged that the encounter was staged. They claimed that some of those killed were pulled off the bus by the policemen. One of the witnesses is also willing to testify before the court or Human Rights Commission. The family members of those killed refused to cremate the deceased, placing their bodies on the road in protest. The Madras High Court has ordered the remains of 6 of them to be preserved in a mortuary.
On the jurisdiction aspect, Madras High Court not considering the re-postmortem, but in order to get the order from the competent court, the body should be preserved in the government hospital. The Madras High Court today passed an order to preserve all 6 bodies in the government hospital.
The killings have sparked massive protest in Tamil Nadu. The AIADMK government has demanded an independent probe into the incident. Former Chief Minister Jayalalitha also urged Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu to initiate action based on a fact-finding probe. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, protests intensified in Jammu and Kashmir over the proposed rehabilitation of the Kashmiri Pandits. Separatist leaders clashed with police in Srinagar, leading to arrest of JKLF leader Yasin Malik. A day after clarifying the government's stand on the issue, Chief Minister Mufti said the rehabilitation should not be limited within the valley.
Protests turned violent in Srinagar on Friday over the proposed rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits in the valley. Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front leader Yasin Malik was arrested after protesters clashed with police. However, the centre remains firm on the proposed resettlement of the Pandits community. The ruling BJP has been insisting on a plan to establish residential clusters for those displaced by militancy in the late 1980s. The centre also seems unfazed by the objections raised to the proposed idea.
जहाँ तक कश्मीर के कश्मीरी पंडितों का सवाल है जिनका विस्थापन हुआ है, उनके पुनर्वास के लिए, उनके रिहेबिलिटेशन के लिए हमारी सरकार पूरी तरह से प्रतिबद्ध है.
There are elements in the state who would definitely try to wipe up the sentiments of the people, which will create trouble. So my appeal would be that generally people should work together and do not get brainwashed.
On Thursday, Chief Minister Mufti Muhammad Saeed ruled out any Israeli-type settlement for the Pandits. However, on Friday, he told the Assembly that the resettlement plan should not be restricted to the valley only.
अगर हम अपनी मिली जुली तहजीब को जिंदा रखना चाहते हैं, तो हमारी कोशिश ये होगी कि उनको वापस ले आए.
As per the common minimum program of the BJP-PDP alliance government, the process of reintegrating Kashmiri Hindus within the Kashmir Valley was to begin by taking the community into confidence. But the two parties have been speaking in different voices, raising questions if the alliance partners are on the same page over the sensitive issue. Bureau report for Rajya Sabha TV.
A quick break here, but still ahead, the US accuses China of bullying other nations over claims on South China Sea. We'll get you details in a bit.
Resettling the Kashmiri Pandits. Questions of how and where for the PDP-BJP government. Should they live in separate enclaves? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, India has successfully wrapped up Operation Rahat in Yemen. The Navy and Air Force have evacuated close to 5,000 Indians stranded there. The last batch of 630 people was evacuated from Sana'a today as the centre closed the Indian embassy.
India has ended its massive evacuation efforts in Yemen. Amid violent clashes and Saudi-led airstrikes, the Navy and Air Force braved heavy bombing to pull out 4,640 Indians from the war-torn country. That's not all. The forces also helped 960 foreigners from 41 countries to leave Yemen amid the crisis. External Affairs Ministry tweeted that the centre has shut down its embassy in Yemen's capital Sana'a after successful completion of one of the biggest rescue missions undertaken by the country in recent years.
काफी challenges हैं और evacuate करने में, क्योंकि आखिर के अंदर जो है लोग बाग निकल कर आते हैं, तो इसलिए काफी दिक्कत आती है निकालने के अंदर. और दूसरा, क्योंकि अदन के अंदर बाकी जगह पर गोलीबारी चल रही है, सना के आसपास गोलीबारी चल रही है, तो जो हालात है उसके अंदर निकालने में परेशानी तो है.
One of the last batches of rescued Indians reached home early on Friday. A 5-day-old baby was among the last and the youngest of the Indians to be rescued in the entire operation.
We brought the baby in the incubator with phototherapy, oxygen and IV fluids, so that during transportation of 5-6 hours the baby is quite stable. So now baby is okay. We will take the baby to the hospital and should be all right.
इस वक्त हालात बहुत खराब है. आपस में क्लैशेस हो रहे हैं और सऊदी गवर्नमेंट और शिया की, और रोज रात को मतलब अटैक होता है. इसके लिए स्कूल वगैरह बंद है और कामकाज ठप हो गया है.
On the last day, India rescued over 600 people from Sana'a. 3 special Air India flights will be flying them home, ending the operation that started on 3rd April. Bureau report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, as being pointed out there by those Indians, situation in Yemen continues to deteriorate as Saudi-led coalition airstrikes continue against the Houthi rebels. The militants have reportedly taken the city of Atak in the south and within striking distance of one of Yemen's largest gas fields. Humanitarian crisis in the country also deepening. However, the Red Cross today made its first shipment of emergency medical aid to the country. A cargo plane arrived in Sana'a carrying over 16 tons of medical supplies. Meanwhile, tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia deepened as Ayatollah Ali Khamenei denounced the Saudi airstrikes as genocide. Pakistan has also decided against military involvement in the fighting, turning down Saudi Arabia's request to contribute ships, aircraft and troops.
We are very happy today because the first plane we wanted to arrive in Sana'a finally arrived after 10 days. Is now full of 16 tons of emergency medical assistance, which is very needy now in Yemen. We expect a second plane tomorrow, hopefully. We have a surgical team as well who arrive in Aden, and now our work will be to distribute this assistance within the country.
In other news, India has strongly lodged a protest with Pakistan over the release of the mastermind of 26/11 Mumbai terror attack, Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. The Lahore High Court had ordered the release, terming his detention as illegal. India has summoned Pakistan's ambassador Abdul Basit, while the Indian High Commissioner in Islamabad met Pakistan's Foreign Secretary after Lakhvi's release. Reacting to India's protest, Pakistan said that Delhi should not cast aspersions on Islamabad's intentions. Lakhvi was arrested in December 2008 and was indicted along with 6 others in 2009 in connection with the 26/11 attack case. Meanwhile, French President François Hollande also expressed deep shock over Lakhvi's release.
भारत तो चाहता है कि पाकिस्तान के साथ हमारे रिश्ते बेहतर हों, अच्छे हों, पड़ोसी देश है, दोस्ताना रिश्ते उसके साथ हों। लेकिन जो कुछ भी हाल फिलहाल हुआ है लखवी के मामले में, वो बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और बहुत ही निराशाजनक है।
Raised the issue of the unfortunate release of the terrorist Mr. Zakir Rahman Lakhvi in Pakistan, and they said this was not good news for either India or for the world. They strongly expressed their solidarity for India.
India and China began their annual defense dialogue in Beijing today. This is the 7th version of the dialogue between the two nations. Defense Secretary R.K. Mathur led a high-level delegation for the talks. The meeting is expected to focus on border issues. The day-long interaction hopes to strengthen institutional mechanisms to prevent a flare-up of border tensions from impeding growing economic and regional partnership between New Delhi and Beijing. Both sides have already demonstrated their intent to stabilize the border first, rather than seek a quick resolution of the boundary issue. The meeting is taking place ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China next month. Meanwhile, the US is concerned over China using its size and muscle to push aside smaller nations over claims on the South China Sea. US President Barack Obama expressed concerns that China is not abiding by international norms and rules, forcing countries into subordinate positions. His comments come after China defended its construction of artificial islands in the South China Sea. Beijing claims it is needed to safeguard its sovereignty, where China's territorial claims overlap those of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei and Taiwan. China also criticized Obama's remarks, saying the US is trying to throw its weight around. Now, in a move to improve the icy relationship between the United States and Cuba, the foreign ministers of both the nations met last night for the first time in over 50 years. The closed-door talks between U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez was held in Panama on the sidelines of the Summit of the Americas. The meeting is seen as a huge development after President Obama declared a shift in America's Cuba policy in December last year. A formal meeting between US President Barack Obama and Cuban leader Raul Castro is expected to take place later this week. Both the leaders will be attending the 35 Nations Summit. And let's give you some more news from across the globe in Global Buzz. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras met Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev as part of his maiden visit to Moscow. Greece is looking at cooperation in the energy, tourism and trade sectors with Russia. The visit has caused unease among some EU partners. Tsipras was warned not to break ranks with EU economic sanctions imposed on Russia over its role in destabilizing Ukraine. Authorities in South Carolina and the US have released another video in connection with the fatal shooting of a man earlier this week. The video taken from a police car's dashboard camera shows a black man fleeing after what appears to be a routine traffic stop by a white officer. The footage was taken minutes before bystanders video recorded the killing. The first video led to the officer's arrest on a murder charge and dismissal from his job. At least 3 people were killed after a suicide bomber targeted a convoy of NATO forces in Afghanistan today. At least a dozen more people were wounded in the attack. The incident occurred in the Behsood district of Nangarhar province. Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, former Australian cricket captain and renowned commentator Richie Benn has died aged 84. He was suffering from skin cancer since November last year. Benn died in his sleep at a Sydney hospital. He played 63 tests for his country and was the first player to score 2,000 test runs and take 200 test wickets. Benn never lost a series as captain and led the side to 3 successive Ashes series victories in the 1950s and 1960s. He also played a pivotal role in the formation of the World Series cricket in the 1970s and was one of the world's most recognized commentators. Within hours of his death, Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott offered Bernard's family a state funeral.
Richie Benn has been the voice of cricket. There would be very few Australians who have not passed a summer in the company of Richie Benn. He was the accompaniment of an Australian summer. His voice was even more present than the chirping of the cicadas in our suburbs and towns. And that voice, tragically, is now still.
We've lost one of the game's great communicators, a great mate, a great friend, and almost a messiah, really.
Just remember him as he was, just a great personality. And loved, you know, he was never critical of anybody. He was always looking for the good of anybody, whether it was a cricketer or a person, an individual.
He will be loved and remembered for a long, long time. I don't think he'll ever be able to be replaced. You know, I've always seen Mr. Benno as the godfather of Australian cricket.
And now let's get you some more sporting action in Sports Beat. A day before Rajasthan Royals plays, in fact, its first match, one of its players reported being approached to fix a match. The player informed the team management about the incident that took place about a month ago. The matter was reported to the Anti-Corruption and Security Unit of the Board of Control for Cricket in India. Paris Saint-Germain striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been suspended for 4 matches by the French League's disciplinary commission. The decision comes after his criticism of a referee last month. The Swede striker had lost his temper and vented his anger on television after the team's 3-2 loss at Bordeaux. Barcelona beat Almeria 4-0 to secure their 6th successive league victory and further strengthen their position at the top of the La Liga standings. A goal from Lionel Messi put Barca ahead after 33 minutes. Later, 2 more goals by Luis Suarez and Marc Bartra ensured victory for the league toppers. And that's it for this week on the News Tonight. Have a great weekend.